Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Path to Play. We are back with another intro this time. It's going to be Valentina.
Hey everyone, we're excited to be back with our second episode launch.
So, I think we should start this off with you just giving a nice 2 to 3 minute kind of background and history of your soccer career.
Yes, so much like you, I also played pretty much my entire life. I started out when I was 4 and I grew up mostly in Arizona and so played most of my club years there, but I did start out in rec like most people and then quickly moved through club. I played in Mexico City when we moved there. Most of my family is from there, so we lived there for a few years. That was a unique experience. And then we moved back to Arizona, where I continued to play club, switched around, played at different leagues. And then ultimately, I was recruited to play in college. And I went to Seattle University, and that's kind of the whole summary of my 20 or so years of soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a long but fun journey.
Dang, lots of changes. Country changes, club changes, level changes. Very interesting. I'm sure there's a lot of lessons we can get out of there. But what would you say are some of your favorite memories from when you were playing when you were younger?
Mexico City was just a lot of fun overall because I was still young, and I think at that time I was also getting to play with older kids in Mexico City because of the lack of players and on the boys team. So I think that was just all overall fun for me as a young player, and it just kind of builds your character in different ways. So I had a lot of fun there. I have a lot of memories and playing with my sister. We got to play together a lot, so that was a great time. And when we went back to the States, I would say it was still a lot of fun up until probably high school. That's when you start adding a little bit more pressure of, are you thinking about recruiting? Are you thinking about college? Are you emailing coaches? All those things that start to add a little bit more of a sensation of this is a job slash a chore. But if you like it enough, you're going to pursue it. So I would say it was still fun the entire time. I always loved soccer, but it definitely was a little bit more challenging once you start entering your older ages of thinking about where you're going to take your sport if you're still playing competitively. But I always enjoyed it, I think, even up through into college.
Yeah, I think I definitely share that feeling about the higher you go, more pressure, but if you love it, you love it. Nothing changes that. At what point in your early years did you start really enjoying and loving playing soccer rather than your parents just putting you on a team so that you were out of the house hanging out with friends?
That's a good question because when I first started playing, I really didn't want to play. Like I remember vividly for my first club tryout when my sister was doing it, I deliberately sat out. Like I told my mom I didn't want to do it and I just sat out and everyone was begging me and begging me to do it. So finally I by the way I was very stubborn, so that that explains a lot. But I finally gave in. I don't remember how long it took or what it took for them to get me out there. I think it was probably the coach. Yeah, his name was Coach Benny. He got me to go out there. I don't know what he said to convince me, but um I would say I immediately started loving it then. I don't remember a time where I didn't like it besides the time where I was refusing to try out, and I think that was just out of being a young stubborn child that I was. But I as soon as I started playing, I realized I really obviously enjoy the sport and being competitive and playing against people and being on a team. Like that was just so awesome. I think that's probably what I enjoy most now. Any environment where I
Right.
can find that, you kind of gravitate towards.
Nice. And so then looking forward, kind of in that high school period where stuff starts to get more intense, what were some differences you noticed and what were some challenges you faced, whether balancing sports in school or emotions or just kind of going into that new space of competitive, everyone around me is kind of fighting for the same spot scenario?
Yeah, that changes I think a lot once you are I guess I would say probably around high school ages. I think in junior high or middle school or whatever you people call it. Like that's definitely still pretty lighthearted, but I would say during the well, not lighthearted, but it's just I think different. Like everyone's kind of on the same level, so everyone's getting a lot of playing time. But once you hit high school and once you're playing club and high school or more competitive leagues, I think you definitely start becoming more aware of who's watching you and who's around you is doing well, who's not doing well, and there's just a lot of pressure from being so hyper aware of well this person's thinking about college or perhaps this person already committed so I have to commit. And I think that would probably be around my sophomore year of high school. Like that was definitely when I started really feeling the pressure. And from then on out, it was just a very different pace of soccer. Like you really have to be on top of it. And on like if I'm being honest, I don't think I was very much like you where I would go out of my way to train on my free time
Mm-hmm.
outside of club practices. And I think that that probably would have helped to some extent. But yeah, I don't know. At the same time, there's other experiences too that you value. So it just depends on your priorities. But um, I think there's a lot of pressure around performance once you hit that age of 15,
Yeah,
14,
definitely.
15,
You
16. Yeah.
want to play well and you want to kind of move on to that next chapter. Speaking of that, we talked about my college recruitment experience. How was yours? I know it's much different for women than it is for men.
Yeah. It definitely starts earlier. And I will say I probably slacked a little bit on my end from a standpoint of the player reaching out and stuff. But I think we mentioned this last week. You're allowed to reach out to the coaches and they can't reply to you until you're I think the first day of August of your junior year or
I
September.
believe so.
Yeah, something weird like that. And there's obviously loopholes because plenty of people commit by sophomore year. However, not everything's clear along the way and obviously everyone has different paces and goals whatever. I think if I had to summarize all of mine, a lot of it at the beginning was I wasn't probably reaching out as much as I should have. And I think I would get frustrated that you couldn't hear back from
Yeah,
coaches.
definitely.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of gray area there. But around my sophomore year, actually, yeah, my sophomore year, I was getting recruited and I ended up switching clubs because I didn't want to limit myself to certain schools that I
Mm-hmm.
think my club was probably trying to pipeline players into those schools. So thankfully I found a great club and a fantastic coach that I like probably owe most of my like lessons learned and mentorship to. But once I was in my junior year, I think I opened up my horizons to a lot more schools. Like I was able to reach out to other coaches, get exposure from ID camps, showcases, and big tournaments because we had a lot more visibility and connections to other schools that I didn't have. So I think at that point I was doing a little bit better with reaching out to schools, but I it got to a point where I was like thinking I would get an offer from University of Denver because I had my sights set on it completely and then it kind of fell through at the end of my junior year and thankfully, I still had my sights set on Seattle U, so I ended up going there and obviously found a great program, great coaches, and worked itself out. But that was I committed the end of my junior year into my senior year, so it was I like relatively late, you could say, for women's soccer, especially now. I feel like everyone's committing so
Yeah,
early,
definitely.
so that's I guess that wasn't that short of a summary, but that was kind of my journey.
Big lesson touched on there. Keep your options open. Don't close
Yes.
yourself off until it is
Oh
100%
yeah.
set in stone.
I can't yeah, I can stress that enough. Even when you're verbally committed, you are only verbally committed.
Right.
So I would stress that for sure to young athletes now.
So once you were past that crazy chapter of recruiting and commitment and everything, you're at Seattle U. How was the change and how was the transition from high school to Seattle U, moving states as well, and then a whole different level of soccer?
Yes, that was a crazy time. And I think I was super sad to leave home. I was so nervous. I was excited, but I was so nervous deep down and I didn't know what to expect. And I never had been away from home really. And I was looking at in state schools really. Like I wanted to stay close to my family. And it just ended up being that I ended up talking to schools outside of state. So I was very nervous coming in. I didn't know what to expect. I'd been training all summer for our fitness test. Like I was determined to come in fit and control the things I could control and just try my hardest to, you know, do well and play and um stand out. I don't know. Like I guess I had a very I my expectations were like it was going to be similar to club, but the definitely the moment I got there it was so not the same. Like it was so not like there's older girls. It's a very quick realization you have once you get there that seniority matters and it's hard to stand out. And that year we had a roster of
Yep, you guys
I'm
had a big team.
near 40 girls, which for anyone that doesn't keep up with soccer, that is a huge, huge roster for college girls.
Yeah, I don't think the men's team ever got over 32
Yeah.
max. So that's another 8 players, which is a lot.
Yeah, it was tough. And I think the adjustment was pretty brutal. I was very, very homesick. I was very homesick. I missed my family. And I think, especially around the times where I wasn't playing, I got really upset and frustrated and confused. And I think at the time it feels kind of like the world is crashing down and you literally don't know what to do. But when you look back on it, I was also having a lot of fun. Like I met my teammates. I had an amazing roommate. Shout out to Mo Nagel. Um, we always had so much fun together in the dorms, like all of us. We had a huge freshman class and there were just you were something was always happening and you just had a little bubble that you could rely on when things were tough out in the soccer world and in the school world. um but it was such a great experience, I think, when you look back on it. And I realized that I was having so much fun once we got sent home for COVID, like maybe 6 7 months later around spring
Mm-hmm.
break time. And I got home and I was like, wait a minute, I kind of want to go back. Like, obviously, it was nice to be with my family, but I think that's when you realize that you do appreciate the change and how you've adapted and all the things. So I think, like any other big change, it's really hard at first, especially when it's that big of a change. But it ended up being a really, really fun and unique experience. And you just kind of have to stretch yourself a little further for the
Yeah,
soccer
definitely.
and the school part, but I think it all ends up being such a great and valuable learning experience over the course of those 4 years.
Speaking of valuable moments and learning lessons in college, what were some times, whether that be injury or anything else, where you really learned a tough lesson that you don't think you would have learned in another scenario?
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's a lot, but probably when I was injured, yeah, was a big one of well, this was sophomore year and it was like our COVID season, so it was an odd season already in the spring. Usually we have our season in the fall, and I think things were looking up for me. I was getting a lot of playing time, and I think I finally felt adapted to the team and the environment, Seattle as a whole, and it was just a good, fun time. We were the only people on campus, like us all athletes. So it was just a great little community that we had going. And just like any other inconvenient thing, I tore my ACL in the middle of our game, and that just took me out for a whole year. So I think that I won't go into detail into it right now, but that whole year I think was a learning experience in itself of like,
Mm-hmm.
well, one, you really can't take things for granted because like you think everything's for certain, and so like in literally 1 second it was all just completely different situation. But I think I also learned like there are other things outside of soccer that can most certainly fulfill you. Like I think I really went and did a lot of city discovering and appreciated Seattle in itself and the location like as a whole, um, when that whole injury transpired, and I appreciated like what I could do and progression and things like that. I think something else that was a really good lesson was just like appreciating the school for things outside of the sport itself. And this, I think, goes back to probably even just like the recruiting aspect of things. Definitely, when you're looking at a school, I would strongly consider where your school is
Yes. You're
because,
not just going to be on a soccer field the entire time you're there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that made a huge difference in, I guess, the time that I had without soccer. Because if I had picked in the middle of nowhere, I don't think I would have been as happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I guess just like school wise, like probably connecting with my professors was an awesome thing. Putting myself out there when it felt weird, like random clubs and events that kind of feel uncomfortable to be at because it's not your usual community. But I think those are really good places to continue to expand your perspective and have other conversations too that can help you beyond your sport as well. So I don't know. These are hard to this is a hard question because there's a lot of good lessons learned and experiences that I could name, but I think those are a couple that stand out.
Well, thank you for the look into your college career and all that. Looking back on the entire long journey as a whole, what would you say, or who would you say showed up for you the most along the way and was the biggest help for you, kind of helping you get to where you got?
Oh wow. I was expecting you to ask advice, but that's a hard question too. Well, definitely my parents. 1000% my parents were there from before I went to college, into college, after college, pre-K, when I didn't even want to try out for the first club team. Yeah, definitely my parents, and when they were visiting me and just I don't know. I mean, your parents are just or hopefully your parents are a sure thing and kind of your safety net. So that was most certainly the case for me. I would have absolutely not have been there without them, and I probably wouldn't have come back to the field or after during my freshman year, I guess, when playing time wasn't as abundant. I like they definitely just helped me, you know, see the bigger picture and keep playing and enjoy the sport as I always had.
100%. And I would definitely echo that. The base is
Yeah.
always super important. Then I guess, as what you thought I was going to ask you last time, any advice that you would give to anyone in the kind of coming up age between 10 to 15, soccer wise, life wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say something very similar to what you said in terms of enjoying the sport. Really, I think it's so easy to get caught up in everything else but the actual sport and
Mm-hmm.
why you started playing in the first place. And I know that's easier said than done, but I think it's a matter of doing things intentionally and just continuing to, if it when it feels overwhelming, whatever it is you're doing, sport related, not sport related, or any any situation, just kind of taking a pause and a step back and zooming out to see the whole picture and realizing that the world is not as small as you might think, and just keeping those people close to you that kind of support you and you can have fun with when things are things are tough, because they can be tough. And I think a lot of people maybe associate your passion with always looking, like rainbows and flowers,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not always the case. I think your passion can always definitely have a lot of bumps in the road, but the reason it's your passion is because you're willing to stick through it
Right.
and see it through and become better because of it. So I think I would say that, as my advice, a little bit of perspective change.
Very good advice.
Thanks.
All right. I think that's pretty much all we have for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our stories. I hope something resonated with you guys. Those are just our stories and very brief. We will fully dive deeper in as questions come in, as we touch on other topics. Everyone's story is very different. We want to really echo that. And so we just want to make you guys feel like you're not the only ones who had to go through some confusing times.
Yeah, and we're really excited to just keep talking about other topics, and like Rory said, just bringing in other stories that aren't ours. Hopefully ours, I think the whole point of this was just for you guys to get to know us and kind of understand where we're coming from, but we're really excited to keep the episodes coming, and we want to hear from you guys as per usual. So feel free to go to the website, submit the feedback form, or just literally DM us on Instagram. We just kick that off as well. Or if you are so lucky to have either of our numbers, you can also text us. So yeah, we're excited to be here, and hopefully we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks,
Yep.
Rory.
See you guys next week.
See you guys soon.